originally from the Bronx. Woo! I want to thank everyone that bared this weather and came out. I'm going to badmouth all my friends who said they were going to be here and let a little rain scare them. But that's okay, because we actually have another event Friday, so I'm going to push them there. They're not going to get away. But seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I want to welcome everyone. We're going to be quick. I want to thank you all for coming out, support. Those who know me know I'm passionate about electing progressives of color, and especially progressive women of color. Last year, I had the privilege to work with many wonderful women, Congressman Ayanna Presley, District Attorney Rachel Rollins in Boston, and Juana Matias, who unfortunately didn't win, but she was an amazing candidate as well. And I'm passionate about supporting these progressive candidates. I think we need to elect more of them. I don't care if they're in Montana. If we know a person of color, progressive women of color especially, we need to elect them. In these rough times, these tough times, especially the guy we have in the Oval Office, the orange a-hole, we need to do a better job of creating pipelines around the country. So this is why I ask all of you to come out tonight. The latest candidate that I am passionate about, believe in, I think she's amazing, and I wanted you guys to get to know her. Julia Mejia, you'll hear from her shortly. But I really wanted to welcome everyone, thank everyone. I'm going to introduce Phil Colon, who is one of the co-hosts. Phil Colon and I met many moons ago. He's one of the co-founders of Voto Latino, amazing organization. He now runs this organization called Project 2050. Amazing guy. He's known Julia for a long time, so I think he can do even a better job of introducing her. So thank you all.
Hello everyone. I want to thank two people right off the bat. Yuri and Jose, who allowed us to have this venue today to help celebrate Julia. And because what we're doing is really bringing people together. People of color together at a time where this is needed more so than ever before. This is happening here on purpose. This is an immigrant community, a vibrant immigrant community. At a time where immigrants are being attacked, we need to stand strong. So there's no better person to be represented here than Julia. For when she called me to say, would I help? I said, when and where? We've known each other for quite some time. She helped me form Voto Latino in 2004 when I felt like people were not represented in voting. And so we did that together as a collaborative. We've been friends ever since. And so I am honored and privileged to say Julia is my friend. She is desperately needed in these times to represent our communities. And I will do everything in my power to help her become the first Latina elected official in Boston. And by the way, think about that for a minute. It's not every time you get to set history. This is a history-making moment. And so we're very happy to be here, a part of this. And in terms of representing, listen, I grew up in the Bronx. Julia's representing Boston. I can't think of, and the Yankees are playing right now. I can't think of two more biggest rivalries. But it's not about who she's representing. It's the fact that she's representing. And that's what we're here to celebrate. We need more people like Julia entering into public office because it takes courage, it takes stamina to do what she's doing, and we should all applaud her efforts and the efforts of her team. So I'm honored to call her my friend, and without any further ado, I'm going to introduce everyone to Ms. Julia Mejia.
Buenas noches. ¿Cómo están? All right. Thank you so much for hosting and inviting me to be here. Actually, Doug, for making all of this happen, and Phil, and Nudis también. She's always behind the scenes, but I want to give a shout out to Nudis Camargo. Okay. Before I start, many of you know I was, when I talk about, well, those who know me, I always talk about being a single mom and growing up with a single mom who was undocumented for a period of time. But today I have an amazing opportunity to shout out my dad, who brought me to this country. And if it wouldn't have been for my dad, Julia Mejia, I would not be standing in this American soil because he brought me here when I was 5 years old. So I want to say thank you to my father. So like many people here, my story begins when I was 5 years old. I came here from the Dominican Republic, and I was raised by a single mom who was undocumented for a period of time. So it taught me how to fight at a very early age, and I became the official advocate from around the way. So I was that one kid that everybody wanted to bring with them to the welfare office, to the court, because they knew if they brought me, they were going to get what they needed. And they also knew that if they brought me, I was always going to speak truth to power. And so at a very early age, I had to learn how to fight for everything that we were seeking in terms of navigating systems. I went on to become the first person in my family to graduate high school, college, buy a house, and get my mom out of Section 8. Yeah. And it is that lived experience and navigating those systems that have inspired me to run today. I actually do a lot of work in the nonprofit sector. I'm the founder and executive director of a nonprofit organization called C-Plan, and we work with parents and educators on closing the achievement gap, because we know parents are the missing link, but we rarely create opportunities for parents to step into their power. So a lot of the work that I do is to help develop parent leaders, but I also hold the schools accountable and provide the training and technical assistance that they need so that they can better serve our families. So I'm an activist. This is what I do. This is the only way I know how to be. But what I realize is that city government also needs a little bit of fire in that space. And not to say that I'm about to burn it down, but I believe that my sense of urgency and the way that I work and how I've been able to convene people across differences is exactly what the city needs. And on a national scale, right, because I am going to be the first Latina, the first immigrant, and the first single mom to run and win, okay, because I'm speaking into existence, right? We have an opportunity to change history because everybody should have the right to run. If you have conviction, if you know what your city needs, then everybody should step into their power. So my hope is that by running here in Boston locally, that we have an opportunity to change the national conversation, because Latinos are always left behind. We're an afterthought, and that has to change. And I feel like on the local level, that's where the real work begins, and that's why I'm running for city council, because the work that I'm going to do, my hope is to create a national blueprint for what real engagement looks like when Latinos actually have a seat at the table. So this is why I'm running. I'm running because I believe it's time for people like me, a single mom, an immigrant who grew up in a life of poverty, has an opportunity to change the conversation inside. And my hope is to bring the inside out and the outside in, because I believe nothing about us without us is for us. And I'll say that in Spanish. Nada para nosotros sin nosotros es para nosotros. Okay, so if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. And so this is what my whole spiel is I'm a political outsider, and we're about to change the way we do business in city government. So without you, I can't make it happen. I know it must be really weird to be in New York as a Boston politician, but here I'm asking you to really invest in this campaign, because we're running a national, my whole idea is to really create a blueprint. In my campaign office, we offer childcare. Because if we're serious about removing barriers to engagement, then we need to set the example. And when I win, because I'm speaking it into existence, is that my first public hearing, people ask me what's going to be my first hearing, I say I'm going to do a hearing on public hearings. Because public hearings in the city of Boston happen 11 o'clock on a Wednesday when working folks like us can't participate. And I'm also pushing that we're going to offer childcare. Because again, if we're going to move barriers, we need to be really intentional. And then what I also want to do is make sure that we create benchmarks to hold city accountable. So bringing city public hearings out to the community instead of just having people having to travel to city government, right? So really being intentional about changing the way we do business. And then the other two issues that I'm going to be fighting for, as I mentioned, I was the first person in my family to graduate high school. But it wasn't easy. I dropped out of high school and I went back. And I was almost 20 years old by the time I graduated. And so the reason why I say this is education is important to me, because I believe there's so many young people, a lot of Latino students in the city of Boston who are being passed from grade to grade. So when it comes to education, I'm going to be really aggressive. And then housing. My mom, it wasn't until I was in the 5th grade that I had a place to live long enough for a year where I could actually make friends. in the city of Boston, we are facing a housing crisis and people are being displaced. And I'm sure in New York City, we feel the crunch here too, right? So it's a national issue when we're talking about housing, and so I'm going to be more aggressive when it comes to housing policies in the city of Boston. But again, what I'm doing in Boston are things that we can do everywhere. And my hope is that people will follow me and follow our work and donate to our campaign. I know I'm going to ask you all for money, because let me just tell you, running a campaign and a grassroots campaign like that is not easy, but every single dollar that you donate is going to help fuel our movement. As I mentioned, we offer childcare, but more importantly, the way we're building capacity is that we do professional development for our volunteers, because we want our volunteers to recognize that they can also run campaigns in the future. And if they want to run, they can run too. So what you're investing in is real leadership development, because the work begins for me after I win. You all know that. The real work begins after I win. And so if we can develop a pipeline for the next generation of future leaders, that's the real work. And that's the work that you're going to be investing in tonight by making a campaign contribution. You could do that by many different ways. Bust out your phones if you haven't done so. Go to www.juliaforboston.com. There's a donate button. You can donate right there. Or we also have envelopes. But whatever you give, big or small, every single dollar will help. And I just wanted to say thank you again for being here, for listening. We're going to have a body artist who is going to bless us with his skills. I actually, I'm going to bring in, I'll keep talking. I got the okay to keep rocking the mic. So Charlie Dominguez and I met, he was one of my young people. I got good melanin. I'm much older than what I look like. But
15 years old.
He was 15 years old. At least I don't tell you how old he is now, because then you know how old I am. But Charlie, I was a youth development specialist. I worked at a nonprofit organization, and Charlie was one of the peer leaders that was in my program 20-something years ago, okay? And this is for me when I see the fruit of my labor and I see the work, and how you inspire young people to do, not to say that his art came from my inspiration, but the fact of the matter is that we still stay connected, and it's such a gift to be able to see him do his artwork here for us today. So he's going to be doing a live art piece on a model who will be coming out shortly. But if you want to explain a little bit about what your body artwork looks like and how we can follow you, okay?
Hello, everybody. I want to thank you all for being here and in support of Julia. I've been a youth advocate and activist with her first initiative when we were in Hedrick Wine Institute. I've also seen her through some documentaries with MTV back in those days. And she knows me in every way, shape, or form. You've seen me and my evolution with my artwork, which was always part of my activism and my display. So she's seeing the, I guess the third stage of my life where I've incorporated all of the art that I do into body art and into journaling through body art. Because coming up as a LGBT, queer, very out loud Dominican male, born in the city. I was raised in 172nd Street in Fort Washington and all over Washington Heights. So she's seen my evolution, and all of it is intricate stories that I experienced, coming up and, being part of various communities here in New York. And it's an honor for me to be here and sharing. I know her heart. I know she's real. She's always been real with me. So I'm honored to be here sharing my work. Thank you.
Guys, so thanks again for coming. Julia briefly didn't mention that she was a fellow New Yorker. She was here for 10 years. She worked for MTV. She did some good work at MTV around political projects and documentaries. So don't just think of her as a Bostonian, think of her as a New Yorker who's trying to make a difference. The reason I say that is campaigns are mad expensive. They're ridiculously expensive, and every dollar counts. And I don't want to just raise the amount of money that we need to do mailers and to win. What we need to show that we have a lot of support for her. So donors count, to show that we have all these donors. So whatever you can give, I'm not even you can pretend you're buying me a couple of drinks, or you can go up to the max, which is $1,000, and you think that's a lot, but it's not. So if we know like a millionaire, which I do, wants to support Julia, in Massachusetts has one of the strictest laws in the country, and the most an individual can give is $1,000. So this is what makes it even harder and challenging to raise money. But yeah, asking money sucks. I've gotten used to it. Some of you probably got tired of me of asking for money for other candidates, but I'm passionate about Julia, and I hope you can give whatever you can today. If you have any questions, please stick around for the artwork. Please ask Julia any questions, ask myself, and I thank you again for bearing the rain. There are envelopes here, and you can do it online. Phil has some envelopes. I want to thank Nuris Camargo, who's a rock star too in Boston. She's the reason I met Julia, and she's one of the co-hosts here tonight. So thank you, Phil. Thank you, Nuris. Thank you, Jose, who's the owner of this establishment, and thank you to the staff who have been very accommodating. All right, good night. Thank you.